Yo, man. Welcome back. We got part two cracking right now. We did the first one. Now we're back at it.
Yes, sir. Another one of my favorite things to do is previewing previewing a match, but especially previewing Les Bleus for a match that the whole world wants to see on Tuesday.
Well, let's not tease the people any further, man. The floor is yours. Let's get it cracking. I want it. Feed it to me, man. Inject it into my bloodstream. Let's get that Le Blue preview from the Le Blue correspondent himself.
Appreciate that, bro. All right. Well, I'm seeing a lot of comments about the previous two matchups these two heavyweights had. And while you can talk about it, I wouldn't base your prediction and feelings off of it. And you know me, dude, even if France have won one of these games or both of these games, I would say the exact same thing. I mean, I just when previewing France Morocco, I said, "Hey, while France won in 2022, that doesn't mean, we're talking about a whole different squad, whole different this, that, you name it." So this is not me saying, "Hey, don't talk about it or don't even think about it because France lost." No, I mean, and I'm going to show I'm going to show the differences and speak on the context. And the only reason why I'm doing it is because you're having Luis de la Fuente talk about it, Nico Williams talk about it, uh, Lamine Yamal talk about it, and this is Lamin's direct quote. We've knocked France out 2 times. They should fear us. Don't forget we beat them in the last 2 games. We have zero fear, and if they fear someone, they should fear us. There are two options. Either France get to 3 World Cup finals in a row, or then beat them 3 times in a row. Okay. I mean, yeah, you're not wrong about the two options. I don't think either side fear each other, in my opinion. And without further ado, let's speak on it. So, can you see my screen clearly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Oh, we got
excellent,
some screen
excellent.
sharing action. Oh boy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, give me a little
So,
Nick Chubb right now, man.
let's talk about the last two matchups. We'll go chronological order here. First, Euro 2024, I believe in Leipzig, Germany, France, Spain. I spoke about it the last time. France get to an early lead. Colomwani, who is not even in the squad anymore. FYI, he didn't make it to the squad here. Gets the early goal and then 2 goals within a 5-minute span. Spain just see the result through. Uh, First, let's talk about Spain's lineup here. Nacho no longer in there. Aymeric Laporte. Uh, FYI, for those who don't know, Aymeric was born in France and represented the youth teams in France up to U19. He stopped getting call ups, and Spain take him, and he's their starting center back. Fabian Ruiz is not in the lineup anymore. I know he came in against Belgium and he got his goal, but we'll see what De La Fuente wants to do. But he's there. Uh, this is pre-Rodri torn ACL. And then your front three right here is the same. We'll see if Nico Williams starts. And then Morata is no longer on the team. And you have Oyarzabal up top at striker in a 4-2-3-1. Here, Your back line is the same. Luca Digne has been the one that's been preferred as of late, and I definitely expect him to start. Formation's completely different. We're not playing a 4-3-3 anymore. The preferred formation is a 4-2-3-1. You'll have Chouameni and Rabiot as the double six. Although I'm curious and I'm really interested, I wonder if Didier throws Chouameni into the fire, having not played in a bit, and Manu Kone did really well against Morocco. If he's just going to roll with Manu, because he did sub out Manu against Morocco with that yellow. So I think we'll see Manu Kone actually start, in my opinion. Angolo is still here, but he is strictly there for the vibes at this point. Uh, Kiki is playing up top at striker. Dembele is not is pushed back to right mid, and like I said, Koulibaly's not in the team at this tournament. And I think leading up to it, things are so different. And what I mean by that is this: Kiki's first game against Austria, I was there. I still have the footage. He breaks his nose, and that completely changes this tournament's direction and vibe. That was their first goal in open play in the tournament, by the way. Like, that's how bad this offense was. Nobody was in sync. Nobody was uh, nobody was on the same page, to be quite honest with you. And frankly, it was this back line that carried them in this tournament. And yeah, it's different. But you got the win, congratulations, and you ended up winning the Euros. So that was this, and then here you had Lamine and Nico absolutely terrorizing defenses. And like I said with Nico, he hasn't started. He came on in a cameo. We'll see what he does. But even then, it's a tall task and a tough ask to have to say, "Hey, all right, go be your usual self after not playing for a while, and um, try to try to break the lines of one of the best backlines this tournament has had." Lamine is making his impact, not so much on the score sheet. One goal, no assist this tournament, but this is Lamine Yamal we're talking about. I'm not gonna discredit anything he's doing. Especially after I saw him play live against Austria. But those are your stark differences there. And um, again, I think both sides are completely different. I mean, Jesus Navas he's retired at this point. You know what I mean? And Pedro Porro starts there. The other game is Nations League 5-4, and you're thinking, wow, did Le Bleu give up 5 goals? I mean, that's so unlike a Didier Deschamps team. Well, take a look at this back line, bro. All you need to see is Lenglet in there, and that explains why they gave up 5 goals. Kalulu is a young piece. I'm not going to really say anything about that. But at least here, okay, the front four you're seeing, okay, this is the same. This is the formation they're currently playing with. Um, you know, your defensive, your double six, your attacking midfielders, and who's up top will be there, and they will start. Okay, so that's that. And um, it was a shootout. It was 5-4, and even then, I'm not going to really speak on the fact that France put up 4 goals. Um, just take a look at the back line here. Your center back pairing is not even the center back pairing that's out there, right? Uh, this is another Frenchie, by the way, Le Normand. But he's not even he's Kubarsi is starting, and then Huijsen he didn't even make the team. So that's why, in my opinion, man, um, it's a scratch. What kind of conclusions can you really draw from the game? Your front three, if Nico Williams starts, will be there. But it's different competition, different form, right? There's so many different things in the lead up to this match, and that's all I really want to say about these two games that everybody on the Spanish side is talking about.
Yeah, no, dude, I think you made a great point. It's not the same teams, not I mean, same teams obviously, but not, a lot of moving pieces in both of those matches that are no longer playing, in one form or fashion. So yeah, it's a blank slate, totally different circumstances, different context. So now that we've talked about that, as it pertains to this particular matchup, I'm interested to
Hmm.
get your thoughts. Do you see it as more of a 1-0, 2-1 type of game? Do you see it as a shootout? Like, what do you think there? Like, what type of impression does this current iteration of both sides give you?
I don't think it's a shootout. I think both teams will want to impose their will, especially with Spain. Spain will want to dominate possession. They don't want France to have any rhythm. And the way by doing that is, I mean, that's the way they've been playing the whole tournament, right? They don't want their opponent to have any rhythm, to retain the ball, and they are completely comfortable retaining possession and being patient and waiting for the gaps to show up. So if this game is end to end, Spain will lose. I think I mean, our attacking front will will dominate. Kubarsi and Laporte strike no fear in me, to be completely honest with you. Kubarsi is a great piece. I know he's good. He's young, and he's been fairly exposed in Barcelona, and maybe a part of that is the high line that Hansi Flick plays. I understand that. I hear that loud and clear. But simultaneously, that center back pairing just doesn't really strike a lot of fear into me, especially Laporte. I don't fear him by any stretch of the means. So Spain will want to have possession. They'll want to be patient. They don't want this game to go end to end. You don't want Desiree Doué to take guys on 1v1, and you got Olise running up the field, Kylian running up the field. You just that spells disaster. Um, I think Olise will have a field day on Rodri. I mean, Rodri doesn't strike fear into me anymore if that's the way they want it to go. And now on the inverse with Spain, I think this game will be tough for France if Kiki is not involved and they smother the midfield. They don't allow um, Olise and Usman and Desiree to run free and go wild. They want to contain the midfield. They want to keep possession, and they're going to be looking for Lamine to create some 1v1s for Danny Olmo to push the ball up, and to create space for Lamine, if that makes sense. And I mean, just the back line are so in lock and step together. Um, they've only conceded one goal. I know that a lot. I know Spain as well, same deal. Everybody's been praising their defense, while also everybody's praising uh, France's offense. But I don't think people are talking enough about France's defense as well. They haven't really. They've only allowed one goal as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point too. That it kind of goes back to what we talked about pre-tournament, where with Didier, that they won't beat themselves more often than not. What's unlocked them has been the attacking talent meshing together, and I think a lot of that kind of goes to Olise, to be honest with you. I think he kind of unlocks the whole thing. Just the way, I know he plays a different role with France maybe than what he does, with the club team with Bayern Munich. But I mean, watching him in the middle of the pitch has been a joy, man. You know, the way he's able to just, I mean, he's just having a field day out there. Um, but yeah, I think it wouldn't surprise me one bit if this is one of those, if it's like a 1-0, 2-1 sort of deal. I don't think it'll be a shootout like you mentioned. I think Spain are smart enough to know that they're not gonna win a shootout with this iteration of France.
Right.
Uh, I think you mentioned Lamine and what he said. One of the things that stood out to me of what I saw Lamine say is that and I don't have the direct quote in front of me, but basically almost word for word what I remember reading was that he said a lot of people want to critique us being Spain about how we are playing and whatnot. But what a lot of people maybe don't realize is that teams are sitting back against us. Um, and that's so maybe one of the things that I'll be interested to see is, does Spain go into this match attacking in the same way that they've done throughout the tournament? Or setting up the same way, I should say, where, the way Spain have played, they like you said, they want to suck the life out of you. They suck it out of you, and then, I mean, even in the last two matches, I mean, they suck the life out of you, and then at the end, you get a, Mikel Marino winner in both matches. Like, I'll be interested to see if Spain play a little bit more on the front foot and try to or if they're, like you mentioned, if maybe they just want to dominate the ball and suck the life out of France. I'll be interested to see that aspect of it. And then with Didier, how does he set up? I want to ask you, as far as so you mentioned Desiree Doué. You think Doué is going to get the start over Barcola? It seems like,
I
correct?
do, yeah. Yeah, yeah, I think so.
You mentioned it earlier. Do you think Chomeni? Do you think he starts, or do you think it's just one of those things where maybe they bring him in off the bench? Like, what do you foresee there
I think they'll bring him off the bench. Manu Kone has not given a reason for Didier to
to
throw in
take him out?
Chouameni
Right.
into a semifinal, having not played since Norway. Or I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I mean, he didn't even
Manu
play against
Kone.
Norway, so
Yeah,
he
yeah,
hasn't
Manu
played
Kone's
in
been great too, right?
he hasn't played in Norway, Sweden, and Paraguay, and Morocco. He hasn't played in 4 games, so that's a tall task to throw Chouameni into that fire, and he's capable, don't get me wrong, but, with Didier, he doesn't like to take risks, and Manu Kone hasn't given him a reason to take him out, you know?
Okay. What about with Spain? I know Spain made a couple of interesting decisions against Belgium, with a couple of guys coming off the bench. Do you think they'll kind of play it a little similarly, or do you think those guys will come back into the starting 11?
No, I think Pedri comes back. I think Pedri's gonna be a big reason if Spain do win. He needs to be that floor general that he is, um, to play, he needs to do what he does. He's somebody that can retain possession very well, can break lines, right, and push the ball up. So I think Pedri definitely comes back into the 11.
All right. Well, anything we haven't discussed as it pertains to Spain and France that you'd like to get off now before we kick it over to the other semifinal matchup?
Yeah, I think I spoke about it against Morocco, where the fullbacks are such a key piece in how they attack and build up play, where it's advantageous for them, but simultaneously with the talent that France do have on the wings, you can easily be exposed. I don't think Spain are going to, or, I don't envision De La Fuente, tinkering with that. That's what he'll still want to do. That's a big part of how Spain do attack. So, and I've seen many times during Cucurella's days at Chelsea where he will be high up the field, and one counter leads to his side of the field being completely exposed. So that's what I'm looking for if I'm France, and then on the inverse for Spain, if you take away possession very quickly in the midfield, you can easily you can break the lines, you know, because you got your two CDMs and Rabiot and Kone, and you don't want you don't want France to be set up defensively. You know, you want to catch them why with Olise and the front four on the other half of the field. You want those 1v1s, and again, you're going to want to smother the midfield. You're going to want to take Rabiot out of the game, um, and try your best to have about, you know, around 60% possession. And I would like to speak on both 11s and where I think and who has which advantage before moving on to the next semis, just like what I did with France Morocco. I think goalie, Magic Mike. Uh, you saw Unai Simon there at the end of the game. Uh, he almost got caught in no man's land, but his Laporte covered him. I think he's somebody that's capable of making a mistake, and I don't really rate him as a keeper. If it were me, I'd throw in David Raya, but like Vince said, De La Fuente is stuck to his guns. It's worked. So we'll see there. I think fullbacks, I give Cucurella the edge over Digne, of course, no doubt. Pedro Porro and Jules Koundé, it's a 50-50 toss-up. You know, Pedro Porro has looked a little bit more dangerous. He did score against Austria. So as a result, just in the context of the tournament and not club football, I'll give the edge to Pedro Porro. I think he's having a great tournament. Center back pairing, I'm not deferring. I'm going with Saliba and Dayoud. They're in lockstep. Midfield, this one's tough. This one's tough. If you want to speak on defensive prowess in the midfield, you got to give it to Spain. If you want to speak on the attacking prowess of the midfield, uh, I'll give it to France. And I'm only saying this because on the right side of the field, I have Ousmane Dembele, who has scored 5 goals. Yeah, he scored 5 goals in this tournament and has a couple of assists. Lamine has one in this tournament. Now, listen, you know, for Lamine, what has he been saying this whole tournament? I My play gets only better and better as the tournament goes on, and you know, okay, fine, fair. In the quarters, you look good, but you know, I did watch you against Austria, and I thought the excuse me, I thought the play was similar. Yes, you took guys on, you did push the ball up, but um, you didn't put one in the back of the net. So let's see. I mean, you know, he scored numerous goals against France, so I'm going to give him that. But um, right now, current form in this tournament, I'm giving that to Dembele, and then um, even if Nico Williams starts, I would rather have Doué or Bakula on the left, and then I mean, we're talking about Kylian and Oyarzabal. Oyarzabal has done really well this tournament, but we're talking about one of the Golden Boot leaders in the race. That's
Yeah,
how I see that.
yeah. Hard to hard to disagree with a lot of what you just said, man. Um, and I'm definitely looking forward to continuing to talk about that matchup. I know it's coming up on Tuesday, so it's gonna be a fun 48 hours from now until then.
Yep, yep. Butt cheeks are already clenched. I'm already
Yes.
thinking about that game, and my prediction here, I'm gonna go. I want to say three, but you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna say three. 3-1, 3-1 Les Bleus. Uh, Kiki gets still on the front foot. Olise will bag his goal finally. Okay. I know his role is different, but he'll finally bag his goal and then give me a goal from either Due or Bakola when he eventually does come on as a sub.
I love it, man. Love it,
And then
man.
Spain, I'll give Lamine a goal. I think he'll score. I think he'll play. He loves to play against France. That's obvious and apparent. Maybe he'll get one, but I think this attack is too much for the Spanish backline in comparison to the other major tournament that in which they met in the semis. And please, please do not give Rabiot a microphone, all right, leading up to this game. I don't want to hear him speak on Lamine Yamal or anything. Don't let him speak before the game. If you want to let him speak after the game when uh, when we get this dub, totally fine. But pregame, please don't allow him. Let's stay humble here. We've I've seen quotes from Elise, from Killian, and whatnot when they're asked about Lamine's comments and Spain's comments. They just say, hey, they're a good team. We've met with them plenty of times before, and we'll see what happens in the game. So that's all you want. You don't want to speak on anything else, and let's let the talking be on the game.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. You don't want to give them any bulletin board material,
Yeah, they've given
just
us plenty of bulletin board material. I mean, the fact, with
yeah,
uh, about us fearing them and whatnot, and so yeah,
yeah,
don't even try to play the mind games.
yeah.
And
Don't tip the scales back. Like,
yeah.
keep your exactly. Yeah, I'm with you there. But yeah, man. Moving on to the next semifinal here, we've got England and Argentina. Um, Interested to see how you see this one unfolding.
If you remember leading up to the tournament, there was a new thing in place where the top four ranked FIFA teams wouldn't be able to meet each other until the semis. You remember that? You remember we talked about that when it was leading up to it?
Yeah, 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 yeah. That was something that kind of fell under the radar a little bit nationally, but I'm glad we brought it up.
Well, guess what? The top four ranked FIFA teams are playing in the semis.
Yeah.
So we have that
Isn't it funny
going.
how that works out, huh?
I know, I know. France and England are not able to meet in the quarters anymore. Oh well. But Argentina finally meet a team ranked in the top 10. Now, before anyone talks to me about that, you got to play who's in front of you. I get that, okay? But finally, all right, they're playing a top 10 ranked team, and it's been tough for them in the knockouts. But this is a completely different game, and we just spoke on England being lucky on the day. I thought Argentina were more convincing against Switzerland. uh, even before the red card. And we talked about that momentum a little bit there. But they were a little bit more convincing in comparison to Egypt and Cabo Verde. Um, from the jump, I've said France and England will meet in the final, and that's how I think this is going to go. We're talking about, and Vince talked about this when he was on with you. Hand of God from Maradona at the Azteca, um, the the Falkland Islands. I think that storyline is amazing and funny. But who has convinced me more in terms of who is going to go through? It's England. I think England's defense structure is something that Argentina have not had to face yet. Um, they did, they had a bit of they had a preview of it in the Switzerland game, but mind you, the only time that they scored when it was 11v11 was from a set piece, and England, well-oiled machine, have the personnel to match with Argentina. I have not been convinced by Argentina, and I think I think this is a game for Harry Kane. I think Harry Kane can easily destroy this back line. Lisandro Martinez and Cuti Romero, uh, they shouldn't strike fear into Kane whatsoever. And I think midfield wise, Argentina's midfield has struggled. The only difference here is if Argentina want to have a shot, they need to press England. They need to force errors, force turnovers, and allow Messi to have 1v1 matchups, create space for him. For England, you want to hit them on the counter. You don't want Messi to be involved, and you want to have your structure.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of looking at it. Honestly, I think the tactical structure of this one's going to be really fascinating to me. I love, you mentioned, we love a good preview, and I think what I can't wait to see is the tactical stylistic contrast between what Tuchel and England will try to do, versus what Argentina are going to try to do. And obviously got to give some love to Scaloni as well. He's done a great job, but
Yeah, he's a
uh,
phenomenal coach.
I think it's yeah. Look, I think it's going to be a great tactical contrast. I think you mentioned it a little bit just now, where England are going to be a structured side. They're going to be a little bit tougher to break down, and you've got Argentina that's going to want to be on the front foot, and maybe a little bit shaky at the back, maybe a little bit shakier compared to England, I guess, in that context. I could see this going a million different directions, to be honest with you. I could see it being one of those like 3-2 sort of matches, but I could also equally see it, maybe like a 1-0, 1-1 to extra time sort of deal. Like I think I could see it going both ways. But I think it's a great matchup. Just as far as on paper and the stylistic contrast of what they're going to be able to do. Um, it's going to be a fun one, man. Like you mentioned, Argentina have yet to face a side like England, but you know what? I think both sides have had to, in their own different ways, have had to maybe.
They've had their tests and adversity. Yeah.
Yeah, they had their test. Argentina's test came in a different form. England's
Yeah.
obviously a little different. I think obviously, England, you look at it on paper, obviously England had the tougher path, with the DR Congo, Mexico, and Norway compared to, Cape Verde, Egypt, and Switzerland. Um, but both sides really had to work for it. England had to work for it against
Mhm.
Congo. I mean,
They had to
it
work
goes
for
with
for all 3. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, they had to work for it against Mexico. They had to work for it against Norway, and then same thing with Argentina. So I think both sides. In many ways, I think you might see a little bit more liberation maybe from both sides, where maybe now that they made it this far, they could take a little bit of a weight off a little bit. Where maybe they could have slipped up in any of those 3 matches. They didn't. They made it against each other, and now that, it's the semifinals, they can kinda just let loose a little bit, let their hair down and let the wind fall and let the chips kinda fall as it may. So I'm looking forward to both. I think, you mentioned it, FIFA seeded seeded it in a way that these 4 weren't gonna be able to play each other until the semifinals, and, well, look what happened.
Right,
Uh
and this is Messi's first time ever playing against England.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, dude, it's one of those things where, I don't want to get sidetracked, but I mean, we could have this conversation a million times. It's just a bummer, that these are noon Pacific Tuesday and Wednesday, man.
I
These would
know,
be
bro.
great. These would be great prime time matchups. You keep hearing about like, grow the game, and I get it. The world doesn't revolve around us, and a lot of people think everything's about the Americans. And what's funny, man, is that a lot of people will say that, like, um, it's just funny to me because it's like I think sometimes people over inflate like they kind of lump Americans together, like all of them together, and it's just one of those things that's funny to me because it's like in 4 years, we're gonna get the World Cup in, what is it, Portugal, Spain, Morocco, and then you've got a couple of select matches in what is it, Uruguay and where else?
Yeah, uh,
But somewhere a couple other countries, but
South America,
majority,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, majority in Portugal, Spain, and Morocco. But I bring all that up because I would be shocked if those matchups had their semifinals at noon Pacific. We don't even have to say Pacific, like 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I guarantee you that those tournaments roll around and there will be night matches, and it'll be at 12 o'clock for us again as well. Like, it's a little frustrating in that aspect where it's like, the whole point of it is, I don't know. It feels like we get fucked out of the way. Like these matches should be like five. It doesn't have to be like 8 p.m. or anything like that. But as much as we love those 8 p.m. matches, but I don't know, man. Like even like 4 o'clock. It doesn't have 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I feel like it's a perfect time, but I don't know. I don't want to get sidetracked. We could rant about that for a whole 5 hours, and I mean, we could save that. But it's just an unfortunate thing. Like, what better way to grow the game than to have it in prime time? But I guess the world doesn't revolve around us, and it's going to be a good start time for obviously in Europe it'll be right at their usual Champions League viewing. So nothing changes for them. And then, Argentina, look, they'll get down with it regardless. I don't think the people in Argentina and people who, look, people will watch regardless at the end of the day. I mean, I know, you and I are no different. We'll watch it regardless, whatever time it is. Um, but yeah, man,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
looking
I agree, and for me, what I have to do in order to watch it is just work a lot tomorrow, to allow myself to have a little bit of an easier day on Tuesday, where if I want to sit down and properly watch, I have to um, put in a shift tomorrow, and that's kind of disheartening.
No, I get you, man, because it's like you shouldn't have to even worry about that because it should just be, you come back from work and you throw the game on, but instead you kind of have to bust your ass tomorrow in order to be able to
Mhm.
clear the deck a little bit. So I'm we
Yeah,
can
and you
continue.
hope that there's no, emergencies or something, as well.
Oh, yeah,
So,
you tell them to fuck off. Let Blue were playing, baby.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. But you know what? Look, we got two on paper. I mean, I think that the higher ups are not gonna. You could they dreamed of a semifinal like this and they got it.
Uh-huh,
And
uh-huh.
I mean, it goes without saying. I think they set it up in that way. And Uh, hey, look, they got what they wanted. Now it'll just be how do the matches themselves play out, because we talked about it throughout the tournament. Sometimes things live up to expectations, sometimes they don't, sometimes they surpass them. So time will tell. The story is still being written. Hard to believe we're reaching the final stages of the tournament. We've only got four matches left, one of which will be the third place game. Hard to believe, man. 1 week from today, we're gonna be putting a ball on this bad boy.
I know, man, I know. Crazy.
It's hard to believe. Time is just zooming, man. But dude, I appreciate you as always. Taking the time out of your day to make these happen. And we're gonna be back very shortly. Give the people what they want, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you as always. And next time we talk, it will indeed be a Le Bleu win, and this time the music will capture.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was my bet on that. I don't really, to
No,
be
you
honest with you,
gotta.
dude, I don't know. I mean, we talked about this off the record, and I've talked about it with some of the other guys that have come on. I really don't understand sometimes like that. Technology's got its benefits. It's also got its flaws. But sometimes we hit the button like, I think we had like a minute and a half of music playing, and then it didn't pick up any of that. So I think we'll just have to start talking first, and then we'll get the music going.
Done deal. All right, brother.
Um,
Appreciate it as
Tuesday, hey,
always.
Tuesday. I'll
Yeah,
see you there, man. We'll
yeah.
we'll we'll we'll, we'll, we'll recap. Le Blue in España on Tuesday, man. Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. Until then, take care, everybody.